Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. So glad to have all of you here today. Thank you for your patience in us getting started. We had some computer issues, and luckily, I think we were able to fix most of them. But we will let you know if we think we're going to have some more. I do have with me Sean Hulbert today, and he's here to show us some visualization inside of InfraWorks so that you can present your designs to customers, to stakeholders, approving municipalities, whoever you need to communicate that design to, so that they will fully understand what you're designing and how it will affect them and what it will look like in the end. So again, I've got Sean Hulbert on the line. If I could, let's just find out who else is with us today while we're waiting for everyone else to join. Since we had some computer issues today, I'm guessing that some of you may have had the same issues. And so I'll give everyone a couple more minutes to get logged in and get their audio working. So if you could add in the question answer panel where you're joining from, and that way I can get a good idea of who we have with us. Oh, and Carl is saying he has no sound. Okay, let me send a quick note to him. All right, so we've got Christian from the Netherlands, another Christian. We've got a lot of Christians here today. So another Christian from Edmonton, Canada, and Marcus from Mississippi, Mariel from Germany. I love that we have a global audience. This is awesome. We have someone from Singapore, Baltimore, Maryland. Everyone's coming in so quickly now. Oh, Lakesh, it's nice to see you on the line. Bob from Brisbane. Okay. And so I'm gonna just go back up, and looks like we have Vincent from France. I'm gonna go back up and make sure that Carl and Bob both got their sound working. And while I'm doing that, Sean, if you want to go ahead and jump in with your slides and start to introduce our topic today, that would be wonderful.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate it. I cannot see the Q&A. Can you get me set up that way?
Yes, I can. Yes. Give me 1 second.
I'm going to move Max out of the way here real quick. So we'll preface everything here real quick with I did the ultimate no-no. I decided that.
Oh, hold on. Sean, when I promoted you to see the question panel, you went mute. So let's figure out what happened there. I can't hear anything you're saying. Can you go up to your audio panel and just make sure it's connected? That's what I get for promoting him mid-sentence, right? Let's see if I can, no audio connected. What happened? It should be Monday today, right? And so Sean, are you able to hear me at all? Just shake your head if you can hear me. Oh, nope, he can't hear me at all. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so Carl is saying he can hear, and Bob is saying his sound is working fine. Oh, Sean's going to call in on his phone. Awesome. Thank you so much for everyone's patience today. Okay, while he is dialing in on the phone, let me just go back and see a few more people who have joined. Marcus from Mississippi has joined. Melvin from Richmond, Virginia. Nice to have you on. Nick from Arkansas, it's nice to have you. Any luck, Sean? Let me ping him over here.
Now I can hear. I dialed in on my phone.
There we go. Okay.
I have no idea what's going on.
No problem, no problem. So I'll turn it back over to you and let you know if we have any more issues.
Fun stuff. Well, thank you, everybody. And sorry. Actually, Joe internally is pinging us as well, Michelle, and having problems with audio. So I think there's something wrong with GoToWebinar today.
It must be, because we're definitely not
Joe
overwhelming the
Simon.
system on our side.
No, we only have 38 people, and we're about to start losing them.
I know.
Thanks,
Let's go
everybody,
ahead
for bearing
and
with us.
yeah. So let's go ahead and present. I'm hearing you okay now, and I'll let you know if something changes. At least this way we can get a good recording and send that out to everyone that may have already dropped off because of sound issues. Does that sound good?
Perfect. That'll
Okay.
work. Okay, so like I said here at the beginning, thank you for joining us. And we are today we're going to talk about visualizing the model that we've created in InfraWorks. Just a little bit about myself. My name is Sean Holbert. I need to correct my title here. I am a senior implementation consultant now here at Autodesk. And Michelle Rasmussen is our AEC content manager. Just a reminder about our virtual meetups. We have a number of virtual meetups based on discipline scheduled throughout the month. Obviously, ours is the third Tuesday of each month for the civil meetup. We are recording the meetup, so please make sure that you visit the site when you have time, as well as checking out the Connected Learning community. So what we're going to talk about today is how do you bring your InfraWorks model to life after you've built it? You've put all this effort into creating an InfraWorks model, and now we will actually need to communicate the story that we're telling. And there's a number of different ways to communicate that story. So when you talk about collaboration or visualization, there's a number of different ways that we can have that conversation. And the very first thing that most people think of when you talk about visualization is 3ds Max, and we're going to render, or we're going to use Arnold for some background information. And if you see me move around in Max, any Max users on the call will laugh hysterically because I am pitifully slow in Max. I'm a much better Civil 3D and InfraWorks user. So the reason I bring Max up is that InfraWorks is going to give us the ability to create some of these compelling presentations without the necessity of leveraging the power of Max. But if we would like to even creep into that arena, we also have that option. So a lot of customers will ask, well, why do I have to learn InfraWorks and Civil 3D and Inventor and Revit and 3ds Max? I don't ever remember having a contractor ask me why he had to learn to use a skill saw and a jigsaw. Different tools, different purpose, or even better example, a hammer versus a screwdriver. We're going to apply the tool to the job that we need to get done. And that's why we open this catalog of tools to you, to allow you to get access to the best tool for the job. So just in case I say something about a future product enhancement that may be coming soon to a product near you, I have my safe harbor statement up, but I don't anticipate saying anything like that today. So real quick, what is InfraWorks again? Well, it's that tool. It's a data aggregation tool. It gives you the ability to bring a large number of information, a large variety of models together, and bring all of this information into one model and then communicate your story. The power behind InfraWorks is the fact that it is geo-referenced. So as you'll see in the presentation here in a little bit, we have the ability to control the time of day and the sun and sky effects that are happening in our model to give it more depth. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm sorry, I was just watching the Q&A panel. I should just let Michelle do that. Sorry about that, everybody. And so the other part of this is that we're actually going to then further develop that model and send that information over into a tool to finish up our designs. So what can we do with InfraWorks? Well, we have a variety of ways that we can bring information in, whether we're bringing it in via GIS information or bringing it in even as simple as a point that's set in a Civil 3D file. And just to give you that example, here's that wide variety of tools that we can leverage to bring information into InfraWorks and then create that visualization or that communicating model output. Now, as you can see here, we do have a number of the different tools, but we're only going to talk about a few of those today. So creating the visualization and flyovers, simple storyboard, and then some FBX tools for additional enhancements. So this is just a real quick storyboard that you could put together inside InfraWorks. Just a few moments. We've got a couple buildings in here representing a plant that's being constructed, and it looks like up on top of the hill we might have a little bit of a park going on, something of that nature. Just a nice, quick, simple storyboard fly through. And then we're flying into maybe the apartment complex to show you that this park is really what its job is doing, is it's kind of obscuring the view of the homeowners from the plant facility behind. And as you can see here, we also have some motion going on in our model. So we'll talk about that here in just a second. And so one of the things that you need to know is, how are you going to get the information out of InfraWorks into other products? Let's say we have the need to do some VR or some additional enhancements to that data. We have a number of different tools that works. So just keep that in mind as you are exporting the information. Now, there are a couple settings here just to bring to your attention, so just things to be aware of. And then, how can we take that to the next step? What does it look like? Objects inside InfraWorks cannot be animated inside the product currently. So what does it look like if we want to actually give it that additional depth, if we want to push that fourth dimension? This is actually how we would leverage 3ds Max with the models that come inside InfraWorks, that we can then animate the motion or the movement of those particular objects. And you'll see actually there's a presentation that I'm going to slide over here on the screen real quick, just to give everybody a quick understanding of how this process is done. And you can actually see that this is us adding motion to both the Ferris wheel here and the windmills that we saw. And so let me drag this over real quick and give a shout out to a couple of my colleagues here. This presentation, and let's go ahead and get back to the beginning. InfraWorks 360 in motion. This is from a Autodesk University class. I want to say that this was probably in 2016 that this presentation was put on. Willie Campbell and Dave Lawrence are my colleagues that put this presentation on at AU. And what this does is it walks you through the processes of actually putting animation to your model inside InfraWorks. And so you're leveraging just real quick, I'll just plow through I did not mean to do that. Just to plow through the steps real quick verbally, you're actually creating a model in Model Builder. You're exporting that model over into Civil 3D. With the enhancement of the corridor tools from a component road inside InfraWorks, we now have the ability to have a surface generated in Civil 3D pretty quickly, correct? And so now we're going to take that surface, we're going to drape a feature line on that surface, we're going to send that feature line over into 3ds Max, apply a few vehicles to that feature line, get some vehicles going the other direction in traffic, and then send that data over into InfraWorks as a DAE file that then will apply our animation. Now, it sounds like a lot of work, and it sounds like a big undertaking, but I assure you it's not. The presentation took about an hour, I believe, at AU, and it was a lab that we walked through, and we helped everybody go through the processing. So you got the step-by-step guide. So just again, a reminder of what that class name was and where you can find that. This is available online at the Autodesk University site. There we go. Okay, so continuing right along, because we're talking about traffic now, what does it look like when we put that actually into work? So I maybe have shown this model before, but what we're looking at here is the bus, as it comes down the road, we're going to see the bus slowly pull out. It's going to wait for an assumed person or people to get on and off. We have not animated that part, so don't pay attention to that. And then we're going to allow the bus to wait and pull back out into traffic. And so this is the class that I was just sharing with you that Willie teaches and Dave teaches us how to do these actual steps. Now, one thing I like to point out here is that when we're creating this model, you'll see that I've got a lot of other furniture inside my model to help me create some more depth. But not only is that furniture that's in my model creating depth for my model, it's also helping me obscure things that I don't want my audience to see. So what I'm going to do is point out some flaws in the model here as we watch this thing go again, and I'd like to know how many people even through the Q&A caught the fact that this is actually happening. So we're going to watch the cars as they come down here. They're going to merge. And then when they come over into this part of the model up here in the very top of the model, they start to disappear. Did anybody catch on to that? And then the bus is going to show back up here again, magically, automatically, and then it's going to go back through its route. So this is basically just a loop scenario that we've got going on here. We've added some variety to the cars via 3ds Max, and we've added the ability for the bus to turn out with just some trickery inside the way that we're actually having the cars time themselves as they're going in traffic. But when I originally showed the model and pointed that the bus was pulling out, I would hesitate to say almost no one realized the cars were disappearing up here in the top part of the model. So that's important because as you're creating your visualizations, you are controlling the direction of the audience's view. You are the director in your model or in this particular animation. So make sure that you're leveraging the tools that are at your fingertips to show the things that you need to show and obscure the things that you don't want to see. So let's jump over here into the demonstration part, see if we can generate a few questions. Like I said, or was trying to say before I was so rudely cut off by the challenges we were having with audio, my particular model is not functioning correctly right now. So I have to apologize, but we are going to try here live to see if we can get it fixed. So if I could get I cannot get the coordinates off of it because it is broken. Okay, give me just 1 second and I'm going to see if we can find it. So like I said, like I was saying at the beginning of the call, I did the absolute no-no where I upgraded to a new version of software right before I was to do a presentation. And we all know how well that works out. And we're seeing that right now. So pardon me just 1 second and I'll see if I can actually get this DAE to come back in for us. Now the problem I'm going to have, and the problem that you'll actually see Willie and Dave go over in the presentation, is the shift that's in our model. So, and what I'm talking about here is I'm going to find this file first, and then I'll keep talking. So you'll see that I'm just dragging a DAE file over. It's going to be city furniture. We're going to set the coordinates, and let me bring my PDF back up here, get my cheat sheet going. I believe our coordinates are here at the top. There we go. Yes, they are. And oh, they're already set. Perfect. Okay. And then where is our insertion point? This is the challenge that you're going to have in Max, is that 3ds Max is very similar to Revit in the way that it functions around coordinate systems. It doesn't necessarily like big coordinate systems, and it doesn't really handle them well. So one of the things that we need to do is we need to compensate for that. Oops, I did that backwards. Get this set right to begin with. And the way that we compensate for that is that we have a shift inside the model. And we actually move 3ds back to 0 and then compensate back for that in InfraWorks, because InfraWorks is aware of where it's at in the world. So let's go ahead, and we're just going to try these numbers. Bear with me for 2 seconds here. This should work. But the documentation is very clean. It's very easy to walk through, and because Max, I think, is going to be in metric, or we're going to have really big cars. Okay, let's give this a try. Everybody cross your fingers, wish me luck. See if we can get my cars moving again. Lesson for the day, if you don't pick up anything else from what I'm sharing, do not upgrade in the middle of a presentation. Let's see if I can find this. No. one thing that we can do is you can actually see my cars are moving here. There we go. So we're checking the model. Hey, look, we've even got a excavator here on top of our bridge. Oh, wait a second. Do I have too many characters in there? I do. I have too many 8s. So what's going to happen is when you bring up 3ds Max, it's going to, and you import your feature line, it's going to tell you that there's a shift that's being applied. You'll go ahead and accept that shift. If I can find my model. And then remember that note, because that shift is going to be the inverse or the negative of what you need to actually apply to the information as you bring it into InfraWorks. Bear with me just one second. Select feature, and let's zoom to it because it must be lost in space. No, it's here. Where are my cars? Okay. Well, there again, you know, this is why we don't upgrade in the middle of a presentation. But as you can see here, just by showing the vehicles in the model, 3D model view here, this is how the animation is going to work inside InfraWorks. So I apologize if this is not functioning as it should, and we'll get that cleaned up for you. And I think we probably could add this to one of our connected learning sites, Michelle. How are we doing with
I was
questions
thinking
here?
the same thing. We haven't had any questions come in other than the audio issues. So if you do have questions, definitely ask those.
I'm going to go ahead and pause here for just 2 seconds and give everybody just a second to catch up and ask the question. Has anybody tried this before? Have you had any experiences applying animation to vehicles?
So Jean is
the
saying
vehicles move,
that,
you just have to wait.
yes.
Oh, you know what it is? I bet it's because I'm in the wrong. Ah, jeez. Okay, so InfraWorks 101. Sean always works in his engineering view, and is in your engineering view, your animations are turned off. So now we have a bunch of cars that are sitting on top of each other, and you can see that our excavator's getting run over. We've got a bit of a traffic scenario here that's less than ideal, with cars actually running over other cars. So yes, and absolutely. Thanks, Bob. I will post that link right now. I actually have that up here. Where is it? I did shut it down. Let me see if it'll reopen. There it is, InfraWorks in motion. We'll send that that should be sent to all. Oh, Michelle beat me to it. Or did you? No, I did it. Okay, perfect. I think that should be to everybody. Okay, so again, real quick, what happened is I wasn't paying attention to where I was at, right? The first thing we always learned about AutoCAD was read the command line. The first thing we should know about InfraWorks is to know what view setting you're in, whether you're in your conceptual or your engineering view. And why that was happening is I believe there is a ability to turn animations off in here. I haven't actually looked for it myself, but I'm sure it's here. There it is, animation. So if we turn them off, that's what's actually happening inside our engineering view. So a little bit of a novice issue there on my behalf, but thank you for bearing with us, everyone. I almost embrace some of these challenges because it gives us the ability to talk about some troubleshooting techniques. And so the other thing that you could see here is we were actually working on creating some train collisions, and that was getting fun. But anyway, so this is actually going to give your customer, your client, or your audience a lot better depth on how we're actually putting together the story you're telling. If you were to have this converted, we're just going to do this on the cuff. I'll show you the information I prepared for our presentation here in just a second. But I do want to show you this. Oh, that's what threw me off. Okay. If we were to go in here and just create a quick storyboard, which is the other part of the presentation we're going to talk about, this is our storyboard creator. And this gives us the ability to actually create the move, or to create a movie of the model. I was telling Michelle this was going to happen to us today. I called it. It happens to all of us. If we were at AU, we would expect the applause to break out because that kind of, it humbles us all, and we realize that, you know what, it is software. It does happen from time to time. But with InfraWorks, it's a quicker process than most of our tools as far as bringing it back to life. And I do want to put a plug out there. I don't know if everybody realizes this, but last Thursday, I believe it was, the 15th, was that last Thursday? The days are all kind of blurring together as we all work from home. But last week, we were actually released 2021 for Civil 3D and 2021 for InfraWorks. The week before that, the Revit tools came out. Let's go ahead and get my model back open. Where did that go?
And on that topic, Sean, we'll be actually having a discussion with the product managers next month on what is new in the 2021 product. So you don't want to miss that one.
Take me just a sec. That's not the right model. Where's my model? 1 second, everybody, pardon me. Dead air is definitely not pleasant here. So let's go ahead, and this is just kind of what we were talking about today. While we're waiting for that model to come up, I just want to give you some of the takeaways that we were hoping to share with you. And I did realize that I hit the wrong button because I was trying to talk and work at the same time. Always a challenge. And so we also want to make sure that you understand that, you know, there are some limitations when you're working with some of the other tools that, you know, 3ds Max doesn't like to be outside of its design area. Revit doesn't like to be outside its design area. So when you're actually leveraging those tools, we do have workflows that are very well published that helps you get those elements that are in those models, or in the elements from those models, over into InfraWorks pretty seamlessly. And so here we are, we've got our model back open. There's our train tracks. We're back in our engineering view, so nothing should be moving. And, oh, there's Crazy Road. Okay. So the point that I was trying to make before we were so rudely interrupted is that with your storyboard that we're going to create, I'll show you the process to create one in just a second, step by step. But I'm just going to quick and easily here grab a component road to create my keyframes. I'm just going to allow that to create itself real quick. Two things I like to point out here. Number one, you're going to see that I can switch between proposals regardless of where my storyboard was created. And why is that important? Well, from my perspective, it's important because it gives me the ability to leverage information out of Civil 3D, such as alignment tools, to create the actual path that I want my camera to follow, import that path through a component road in a different proposal, make any modifications that I want to make. Let's say I want my model to dip underground to show some piping, but then come back up above ground. I can make those vertical modifications and then switch over to the correct storyboard as I'm actually doing my work. So let's go ahead and look at that real quick. Let's get our animation moving, and let's see what our model looks like as we roll through. So here we go. We're driving, we see our little train accident over here on the left. And because we were not preparing, we just kind of did this one off the cuff. We have cars that looks like they're going into a tunnel. That actually might be a way to spoof this model up, is to build a little tunnel there and have the cars actually disappear in a more realistic fashion. So this is what the storyboard is going to give us the ability to present. Now let's go get into the better model where we can actually, you see the tools in action.
While you're opening that up, Sean, Daryl is asking, is it possible to import Vissim data into 3ds for traffic simulations that can be imported into InfraWorks?
There is a workflow, and I know that Willie is the one that has done that in the past. I know that he had done that previously where he was leveraging some Vissim data to actually, and this is very early days of InfraWorks, to bring that data into some roundabouts they were working on. Gosh, I want to say it was for the state of Alabama even. So it's been quite a while, but I do know that there are some workflows. I'm not exactly sure where Vissim and 3ds Max tie together or what that actually is, but I'm almost positive there's some documentation available out there on the web about that. So here we go. Let's jump back over into our model here. And I just quick and easily put together, kind of a subdivision-ish looking thing here. And I put together us a storyboard. So generally, I like to do everything off the cuff. I like to play live because it gives us the opportunity to have conversations about what can happen in models. But with doing your storyboards, this is really one of those scenarios where you want to kind of do it ahead of time and then maybe talk people through it. So we're going to go ahead and stop this guy, and I'm going to start my animation, and then we'll go back to the process that I used to create it. So I'm going to move this off the screen just so you get the full effect. We're going to go up here, full screen, and say go. So creating our storyboard. Basically, there's a number of tools that are inside the storyboard creation tool that give us these abilities. A look around tool, a camera path tool. We've got the ability to have a crane style looking tool. And then this is what we were talking about previously, where we're actually using the component road to import the path that we're taking. This is where I might actually have had that alignment turn the corner, or even use another tool, a shapefile or something else, to bring in this alignment. But this is where we might have had like I said, had that alignment turn the corner in another proposal. And even a null alignment would work for us. We don't have to have the component road on it to enable this effect. And as you could see here, I'm driving right down the center of the road, which is a less than ideal scenario. And I'm going to point out that I've got some hovering houses as well. But these are all things that are just minor tweaks that have to be corrected in the model. Very easy to go update those type of things. And again, I hesitate to say that if I don't point those out, most people don't pick up on those things. And so it's going to come to the end of our model here, and you can see some bridges that we were working on in previous presentations off in the distance there. Significant lack of trees in my my model here. I definitely need to get that corrected. And I've got some irregular grading going on. I like to point out the strange things that I see. And then we talk about the day and night animation. So this is adding the day and time animation to create that sunset effect. So let's look at those tools a little bit and see what we do to create those. It's very similar to any type of a timelining tool that you may be familiar with, and where we can just reorganize the objects. We can slide them down to create space for new objects that we want to insert into our timeline. We have a number of objects that are available to us. We can extend the duration of our presentation here. Here's where we want to start and stop our presentation. We jump over here, and here's where we can actually import camera paths just by actually stepping into our model and going to different places in the model and adding more keyframes. We also, I'm going to move this up just a little bit here. We also have the ability to control how the presentation transitions between each of these snapshots. So we can create the illusion, for lack of a better term, of a path that we may not have actually created, but just by controlling the speed and controlling the different perspectives, we're giving the ability to create a quick and easy fly-through for our project. So in just continuation, pick another spot in our model, add another one, go back in our timeline here just to see what this has created for us. It went from sunset, and now we're just giving everybody kind of the helicopter view or the drone view of our subdivision. And as you can see, we got a little choppy and a little bit of the speed adjustments need to be taken into control or taken into consideration here. But this is, this is us kind of doing this on the fly. Pardon me. And so one thing that you're going to say is, okay, well, now we've put all this effort. Oh, let's finish talking about our tools here real quick. And we've got a number of other abilities here where we can actually just drop in some still frame shots if we want to. We can add pan and zoom type functionality inside our model. And with each of these, we get the temporary tool here to see what's going on. So that's a zoom in. Let's go ahead and do a zoom out. Or we can start in the middle. So you have a lot of control. And the reason, like I said at the beginning of this part of the presentation, that I kind of went to the effort of putting all of this together for us is that, as you can see, you can kind of get into the weeds here with each of these options for our animations. And so the other thing that we'll show you here is that this is the ability to create our captions. As you can see, I was creating captions up here. We have the same ability in our captions. If we want to extend the length of that caption, we just grip edit and drag it down. Very similar to the way that you would extend the lengths of your keyframes here or adjust the locations of your keyframes. Here's our day and time animation, as well as those global settings. Now, we didn't dig into this very much, but one of the things that we know we have the control over inside InfraWorks is the time and day settings inside our model. And it always takes me a second to remember where we keep hiding things because we keep changing the location of stuff. Model properties, always in the same place, but it's never in the same place. Oh no, it's under. I'm having a complete brain lapse here because I'm trying to talk and do this. Here we go. There we go. Sun and sky. I would have done the Control-7 because that's what I like to do, is I'm a typer, but I always like to show you where it is on the keyboard as well. So this model is in Oregon. And just to give you an example of what we have here in Oregon in the winter, you can see that about 4:20, 4:22, 4:30, 5 o'clock, we're hitting dark as we get closer to the equinox there. So this is very accurate. Obviously, it's only as accurate as the coordinate system that you're importing into. So if you haven't used Model Builder or your information is not coordinately accurate, then your sun and sky settings will have that same challenge. I will show you here that if I switch it, I can be in my model, playing my model, and switch over to engineering view. Oops, and oh, there it goes, sorry. Restarting for us. It's maintained my day and light settings that I set, but in my engineering view, you could see that the quality is way down. Why is this important? Well, this is important as you're going through the process of creating your model. You're not going to want to watch it at the high level every time you watch play, every time you make a tweak or a modification to it. So these are just little tricks that I like to share to help make this process a little bit easier. Go ahead and stop that so I don't get sick. And then we can export the existing storyboards. We can add a new storyboard if we want to create another one. And then the other thing that we want to do with our storyboard is export it to a video, because not all of our customers are going to have the ability to open these models up in InfraWorks. So we have the ability to export them, and we have the ability to export them into a number of different formats. And I will bring that up here right now because I cannot. Oh, oops, nope, that's up here. There we go. Windows Media, DV Video, and MPEG or JPEG. It is our recommendation that you export the uncompressed video, and then use some post-processing software, which will do a much better job of putting that final touch on your model if you have that available. And I think Adobe has some of those products that are fairly easy to use. Okay, so that's really that was the heart of our presentation today. I left about 15 minutes here at the end for us to have some Q&A or a little dialogue back and forth if we have any questions. Again, remember that our wonderful development team has given us a lot of hotkeys to get things open for us, and they've been really good about telling us what those were. I thought that was pretty awesome that these are actually showing up there, and the fact that I have the innate inability to remember things anymore as I get older.
All right, I don't see any more questions coming in. So Daryl did ask the question about the Vism data into 3ds Max. I've put a link out there to the AKN article that, one of the many AKN articles that actually talk about it. And hopefully you guys can all see that. I've also put that link to the AU class that Sean was showing. I put that in the chat panel. Since the Q&A panel is a little harder to click on it and go to it. So the chat panel, if you click on that link in there, it'll go directly to it. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and put the how to import Vism data from AKN into the chat as well. But if you do have questions, definitely let us know what your questions are, and we have plenty of time to get to them today. So ask away if you'd like. You can even raise your hand in the attendees panel, and I can open up your line.
One of the other things that I like to say is that, don't just think that we're limited to being on the ground here. Think about what would it look like if your project, like mine is in the proximity of an airport. What would it look like for you to create a feature line that basically emulated the path of an airplane, and you could then emulate that or animate that plane taking off in the back of your model? Wouldn't take a lot of effort. You don't really have to show the plane going very far, but you could actually give your audience the feel and the realization of where they're really at in the world.
Yeah, and Sean, I think you mentioned it, but one of the things I've done in the past is I have created a new proposal with a component road for that air traffic, and then I make sure I'm not on that so that I can just follow the path of that component road for air traffic and allow it to automatically create it for me.
I didn't even think about doing it that way. Absolutely. I would have gone into Civil and started playing with profiles, but yeah, you could do it right here. Excellent.
Okay, Daryl asked the question, when creating bridges in InfraWorks, is it possible in 2020 to export these bridges to Revit 2020 for amendments?
Great question, Daryl. I really appreciate that. And just because I happen to have a bridge here in our model, let's just go ahead and look at that process. So in your InfraWorks model, you just grab a hold of your bridge and you send it to Revit. You want to create new or updating existing. And what it's going to do here is it's going to export our IMX file. Now, this is a little bit different than what we've, make sure I'm not showing anything that I shouldn't be showing. This is a little bit different than what we might have been used to previously, where it would actually send the information straight over to Revit and open Revit for us. Now we're actually just creating that IMX file, and then we will go over into Revit. And I've yet opened, or I've yet to install Revit 2021, and this is still InfraWorks 2020 as well. Just to be clear. Do know that for Civil 3D and InfraWorks to work best together, they like to be the same version, but we do know that that isn't always available. So you can leverage IMX files that are not matching versions. And as you could see here, just to kind of give that plug back to the original start of our conversation about different tools in the toolkit, we're leveraging Inventor to create these bridge components so they are more intelligent than otherwise available. I think I said that right. And here we go over into Revit. We're going to go new. And I function in Revit just about as good as I do in 3ds Max, so please don't anybody laugh at me. Don't unmute the laughing people, Michelle.
All right, I won't do that.
And just another, I could have picked a smaller bridge. Sorry about that, Daryl. Okay, there we go. So we have our IMX file. This is the part that it always throws me because where do we import this? We import it through insert, and that's a great question that's on there for us. Is it add-ins? There it is. Nope, that's shared coordinates. Import civil structures. There it is. And we'll go get the D drive and bridge 4. And this is, it was almost like we set Daryl up to ask this question. This is the, the continuation of that workflow. You've communicated your design intent leveraging InfraWorks to your audience. You've gotten the buy-off from your project stakeholders, all the specific entities that are, have an engagement around the scenario have given thumbs up. And now you're taking that, preliminary, but mostly accurate bridge over into Revit to do your final design. And so as this is importing into Revit, again, I should have picked a smaller bridge. I'll answer the other question. Daryl says, and I'm so sorry, I'm not going to be able to pronounce your name correctly. Senya, I think, it says, why InfraWorks doesn't accept the coordinate system of sometimes of Civil 3D. If it is a custom coordinate system, we definitely have some challenges. We also know that there are challenges when we're doing multiple translations on a specific coordinate system. So that is likely what could be contributing to it. If you do have a specific issue, I would definitely recommend reaching out to the product support team through our technical support team, and they can get you some better answers on that. We know that customers from time to time have some challenges around coordinate systems, and we have a group internally here that's more than willing to help. And so my model came in just about perfect timing here, and as you can see, here is my bridge model. It's ready to have the rebar schedules created. It's ready to have all the, or these are look like pre-stress, or yeah, these are pre-stressed tendons and or components anyways, but I guess in your head walls and things like that, you would have some rebar, and in your foundations. So now you're ready to do all your bridge and electrical design, because when I applied my style, I decided to put light poles on our bridge as well. Do we get Inventor as part of the AEC collection? I think so.
I'm actually not seeing it in the list. I did send everyone a link with that question to the AEC collection free trial. And so it lists all of the software that's included. And I don't see Inventor on there, but I was like you, Sean. I thought we did include that.
Yeah, I'm surprised if we did not. I am surprised because yes, I'm here on the site right now. No, I do not see Inventor on this list. I would throw that up on the idea station.
Okay.
Yep, there they are, and Inventor is not on that list. InfraWorks Insight, Navis Manage, vehicle tracking, all flavors of AutoCAD, and structural bridge design. Interesting. Great question. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions out there?
a few more minutes left for our meeting. We definitely appreciate everybody joining us for these meetings, and please give us ideas about things you'd like to see, ways that we can improve it. I know that we had some technical difficulties this morning, and I apologize for the sound issues. And then, gosh, I still feel like I have mud on my face from that animation not playing because I was over in my engineering view. But I personally find value in those things when I kind of overlook some of the obvious.
Yes, and for those of you that did already see what's coming or what's new in the 2021 product, again, we are having that discussion with the product team next month in this meetup. And the difference will be we'll have a little bit more time so you can ask questions to the product team. So come prepared, bring your questions, and let us know, what would you like to see if we haven't answered all your wish list items yet. I'm sure there's a whole lot of wish list items, and there always will be, just because you think, oh, if it can do this, why can't it do that, right? So we're always excited to show you what's new and have that discussion with the product team. And again, that's happening next month. And I don't see, oh, actually, we just had one come in from Daryl. We had issues in the past where we could not edit the Revit models from InfraWorks once they are imported into Revit, as we believed they are parametric Inventor parts, and we do not have access to Inventor. So I think that's more of a comment maybe from Daryl.
Yeah, and I replied privately and said that we should probably open a case for that, because that shouldn't be the issue. Once the component comes over to Revit, it should be a Revit object at that point. It no longer needs to know that it's Inventor. Even with the infrastructure parts editor, you don't necessarily have to have Inventor for Civil 3D to leverage the infrastructure parts editor, which is a OEM version of Inventor, sort of. And that's what we're leveraging to create all our new parts for pressure pipes and for gravity networks. So, if you watch the process when you're sending that information out to, or when you bring the information into InfraWorks and things like that, you'll see that it's ticking, because it's actually pulling that information from a catalog, an Inventor catalog, but it doesn't require you to have Inventor installed.
Right. Great.
Sorry, it took too long to spit that out.
No, you're just fine. You're just fine. Excellent. All right, well, if nobody has any other questions, we will give you back 4 minutes to your day. We do appreciate you joining. And Sean, thank you so much for preparing the presentation. Even with the glitches, it was still a great presentation. I thought it was very valuable. So hopefully everyone else did as well. And hopefully we'll see you guys all next month.
Don't upgrade the product right before you deliver a project.
All right, great.
Thank you, everyone.
We'll send the recording out to everyone. You guys have a great rest of your day.